Okay. I tried to take a stab at this to try to explain or describe how I feel about what just happened with this election. I had to delete my video because I believe that I didn't even like the way I described it, because I really couldn't put into words what I'm thinking. I talk to people, drivers, people every day, right? And I listen to the news constantly, and they just don't get it. I keep saying, before this election, if you're listening to sports or watching a movie or watching a sporting event, these commercials that kept coming on were really impacting the way people think. I mean, if you have a 6'2" male that looks like a Sasquatch in a cheerleader's uniform talking about they're a woman, people are saying, oh no, that's not a big thing, that's not a big thing, that's not a big thing, that's not a big thing. I totally disagree. You got school teachers, men dressed as women, teaching your children in schools and then telling the children this is normal. I don't agree with that. That is not normal. People are belittling that and act like, oh, it's because Joe Biden is old or because Kamala is black. I'll agree that there's something to be said about the color of her skin. I totally agree with that. And especially since every time she gives a speech, she says the same thing over and over and over. She doesn't know how to improvise and be her fucking self so people can see who she really is. She just keeps repeating the same shit everywhere she goes like a robot. I'm going to let Chris Cuomo explain what I couldn't explain very well. Why Trump won this election.
I don't need to tell minorities what it's like to be a minority in America. They voted their self-interest. And in politics, and the left should get this because you're asking people to get it about what you care about. In politics, if you tell people they are wrong to feel how they feel, you lose. Again, in politics, if you tell people they are wrong to feel how they feel, you lose. Want an example? Last night. Want another example? My father, when he was discussing Walter Mondale's chances against President Reagan, 1980 or whatever it was, 84, I don't know, whatever it was. He said, people blame the government, people blame things, and it's the politician's job to sell them on it because he can't tell them the truth. The truth is, you don't like your tax burden? Make more money. Be more valuable to the economy. Have better skills so that you can make more and then the taxes won't bother you that much. You'll never hear a politician say that to you. Why? Because part of this craft is giving people something to blame for themselves. When they feel a certain way, you have two options. You feed it, or you feed them something else that can make them feel differently. But when you choose to tell them they are wrong to feel how they feel, you lose, and that played out. Things are too expensive. Yeah, but the economy overall is pretty good. They didn't feel it. You are forcing new social norms on people in this country. Huh? No, I'm not. We're just doing what's fair. Trans people have rights too. Yes. But if it's communicated as if you must be forced to accept and be indoctrinated with ideas that you do not share, is that fair? That's not what we were doing. That's how they felt.
Hold on.
You were treated. Be indoctrinated with air. Trans people have rights too. Yes. But if it's communicated as if you must be forced to accept and be indoctrinated with ideas that you do not share, Is that fair? That's not what we were doing. That's how they felt you were treating them about it. That's the women in sports thing. It's not that it happens a lot, like immigrant crime. It's not that it happens a lot. It's that the fact that it happens at all to them is a gross violation of norms.
Hold on.
And crime, treating them about it. That's the women in sports thing. It's not that it happens a lot, like immigrant crime. It's not that it happens a lot. It's that the fact that it happens at all to them is a gross violation of norms.
Yeah.
And unacceptable.
Yeah.
And you find it okay.
Well.
And they believe that that is wokeism run amok. What is woke? They don't even know what it is. Here's what they believe it is. And it just won the presidential election. The economy won the presidential election, and concerns that all go under the umbrella of wokeism, which to people who voted for Trump is a set of ideas that messes with traditional values, but more importantly, new ideas that are being forced on them to make their own, even if they don't agree. Like what? It can be immigration and the idea of an open border. We don't have an open border, but it does meet that suggestion. And politics is about hyperbole. Politics is about persuasion. Politics is about using perception as a hedge against reality, and perception generally wins. So when you undo what was working and allow people to flood through, you feed into the idea that you want it that way. And then you get the great replacement theory and all this other bullshit. But it is an extension of what they see as wokeism. Yes, it's also national security. It's also immigration on its own. But it is this exaggerated liberalism, this exaggerated laxity, this exaggerated relaxing of law and order for some other value system. Trans is that. Censorship is that. You don't get to say that. How many people are going to take little bits of what I've already said and spin it out of context to make me some kind of Harris hater? Which I'm not. She was put in a really tough position. She had the tougher case to make. Or that I don't get race, or that I'm white and privileged. And all of this is a perceived extension of wokeism run amok. That you don't get to say things. Sure, you don't get to say things without consequence. I actually think we've gone too far away from this as a consequence for certain things. I think social media has warped our sense of decency and made us think that we can just insult people down to the core of who they are and what they're about and not expect to get smacked in the face. And then people will say, well, you have to be more evolved and civilized than that. But we're not evolved and civilized. We're completely indecent. We're constantly insulting. We're constantly manipulating. We're constantly perverting what is normal and natural and obvious. But a punch in the nose is indecent, is too much. We're better than that. The fuck we're better than that. Look where we are. Look, we have divided ourselves over boogeymen.
Wake up!
You have real enemies that want to kill you. That was not even discussed in this election. And the only time we do discuss it, we discuss what to call them. Don't just say Muslims. Okay, that's fair. Well, don't say extreme Muslims. You have to say it's not Islamic terror. It's extreme Islamist terror.
I got to go, but you can search for Chris Cuomo. He's got his YouTube channel, the Chris Cuomo Project. This one is Chris Cuomo on why Trump won. I totally agree with what he's saying. I just finished an orientation class, and I'm going to tell you, they had one section in there that you could not finish orientation without answering, going through this video and all these different classifications. It was on sexual harassment, and you think, oh, sexual harassment, we're talking about women and men and all these types of things, issues, personality conflicts. No, it was 90% of it was about you had to understand every different word and typo expression of what classifies cross-gendered people. Whether you're gay or bisexual or asexual or cystic or some all terms I never heard of before. And you had to learn them in the video. Then you had to answer questions that you understood them in the video. And then you had to ask you about harassment of jokes and this and that. It was so far out there. I never had to take a course like that before. And I think I'm not saying anything against people that have chosen those alternative lifestyles. What I'm saying is that hold on real quick. Okay, we're good. What I'm saying is that society is forced to accept some of this shit. I don't think that a man dressed as a woman should be able to teach in our schools and teach them that these alternative lifestyles are normal. I don't agree with that. I don't agree we should be spending money on inmates in prison that want sex changes and paying for it. I don't. Those commercials before the election were beyond effective, bro. Those were doses of reality that I agree with. We just had the Olympics where there was a female boxer that was whooping everybody's ass. Now hold on. It was a man who had got cross-gendered and was allowed to fight in the Olympics on the girls' boxing team. It was just so unreasonable and unfair. This type of shit should not be accepted. And if that hurts somebody's feelings, well, I guess you can kick rocks. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you can kick rocks. This is the way I feel about it, and I think this is where the country's at, and I think that's what's going on here is the country's went too far. So when people say they don't like the direction of the country is going, these are the types of things people are talking about. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or Muslim or Islamic, non-Islamic, if you're full and general, if you're an atheist, there's certain things that people do not agree with. Just because a small group of people want to be something freaky doesn't mean we should be teaching their freakiness in school that it's okay and normal to be that way. Anyway, those are my thoughts for the moment. This is a hell of a video. And I totally agree with what Chris Cuomo is saying. I've heard all the reasons why Trump won and why Kamala lost. But of all those reasons, I watched the commercials leading up to the election. They were beyond effective. They were beyond effective. It caused people to get off their ass and come out and vote and fucking vote. Anyway, those are my thoughts for them because it comes back into your mind about these things that have happened the last few years, like a school teacher going to the school dance, a man dressed in as a transgendered into a woman, dancing with your child in a school dance, and that is being considered the new normal. No, I disagree with that shit. I don't care what you think about it. I totally disagree with that shit. It started out, remember those cartoons with Beavis and Butthead? There's a cartoon where the cartoon characters, their ass was showing through the cartoons. And this is for children. That's when you knew that, well, hold on. You're not going to put the brakes on anything? No, everything is okay? I mean, just everything is okay. So no, we need to change some of these things around. That's my personal view, and those are my thoughts for the moment. I gotta go. I gotta get it going.